All right, here's my LG C3 77-inch OLED. This is the 2023 model. I bought it in 2024. Obviously, things will change, but at the current state, this is the operating system. So this is software version 03.31.45. Current date is June 30th, 2024. All right, so this is the LG. This is their WebOS software system. So I'm going to show you a couple things. Like I said, I wanted to get a television and use the built-in operating system. I wanted to get the one remote. This is the LG remote. That's not going to show very well. So first, one of their big selling points is this little Wii motion thing, which at first I hated, and I wish you could turn it off. You cannot turn it off. You can make it slower or faster if you go to the settings. If you go to general, system, additional settings, then you can go to pointer options and you can change the tracking speed or change the pointer size. Like that's on medium. Let me make, you can see there's large. I'll leave it on medium. So I've gone back and forth on the actual pointer. It is a selling point, I think, for them. So sometimes I will use it to grab something here, and then sometimes I will just use it like this. You don't have to use it, right? You can just use the little circle pad and you can go through the system like that. So I do sort of wish you could turn the little Wii thing off, but it does work. All right, so if we look at the television, one thing you notice here, there's no ads on the screen, and that is a benefit of the WebOS service. Now you can turn them on if you want ads on your home screen, of course. If you go to settings, general, system, additional settings, and then home settings, and you have the option to turn on home promotion and content recommendation. So generally home promotion would make an ad right here, but for some reason when I turn it back on, it doesn't come back on, which is fine, right? And this is if you have the content recommendation, right? It has all this stuff here, but I find that not to be useful, right? And most of the stuff, I'm not somebody that needs to see the little recommended section to see what I want to see, right? And you can edit it a little bit, right? You can just rearrange these in the recommendation. I don't know if you can see all that in the camera. There's new releases, popular cinema, enjoy the big screen, now streaming, and best crime and thriller movies, and LG channels, right? So it is essentially the same options right here. Now you can't remove them, you can just reorder them. I mean, you can't remove an individual section, you can just reorder them. So, but like I said, normally I just turn them off entirely, and of course turn the ad off as well. So, and I could be mistaken, I'm not positive about some of the other smaller systems like Vizio, but like as far as between the Samsung system, you can't turn this stuff off, and then on the Apple you can, Apple TV, but Google TV, of course, I think you cannot turn their services off. So, and then these little cards right here, just look at the home screen, right? This car, just this little picture of the car driving on the road. I don't know if at some point they'll change that and have a different picture for a different season maybe or something, but at this point it's had as long as I've had this TV, which is about a month now, it's had the same picture. These little cards right here, this tips, music, home office, you can edit those. You can add more or you can remove them entirely. That's all of them on this. So now you have all of them here. And then if you wanted to remove them, you highlight it, hit the arrow, take it up there. And now all you have is that edit button. So a slightly cleaner screen. Now these on the bottom, you can't get rid of. They're just there. If you edit app list, it just kind of takes you right to the apps, which is weird because that's pretty much the same thing it does if you go to this arrow at the end here, right? And then guide, that takes you to like the LG TV built-in channel guide. Like LG has that LG channels thing that works, but like, I don't really understand it. Like I don't have an antenna hooked up to it. There's a built-in antenna, I assume, but I never actually searched for television. I mean, I use YouTube TV, so you can edit that a little bit too, right? But I never found this kind of stuff useful. I would never use this. And that was one of my complaints about the Samsung TV is that the LG one, you never notice it unless you actually click on this button or in the apps. There is an LG channel, this one right here. On the remote itself, there's an LG channels button. Right there's an LG channels button. But again, I never interact with it, never have to. It never bothers me. And user guide just, of course, is general information, kind of like a built-in manual. And then home hub would be if you had like LG's connected stuff. But I have an LG Gram and LG monitor, but I don't have any of their smart home kind of stuff, right? And I don't need to tie all their stuff into my stuff. That I just never use this really. I really don't know what the settings does. You can edit inputs. Oh, you can rename the system. So I didn't name those. It kind of recognize those. I don't know if that's shown on camera, but it shows my HDMI inputs. HDMI 1's empty. Samsung soundbar, it recognized itself. Xbox game console, it recognized, and Nintendo Switch, it recognized. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but in the front there, right across here, this is the Samsung Q990C. Speaking of that, that's plugged into the eARC port, of course, and it works perfectly fine with the Xbox or other things. If I turn the volume up, this is kind of an annoying feature that LG and Samsung both do. If you have an LG TV and LG soundbar, that little plus minus on the side there will have numbers showing you what volume you're on. Same thing if you have a Samsung TV with a Samsung soundbar, it will have the numbers. But if you have an LG TV with the Samsung soundbar, it just tells you plus or minus there. It will highlight the plus or minus you're on, but doesn't tell you the actual number. Now, this is one thing I liked about the Samsung Q990C that I have, is that you can see that little LED display on the device there. It shows the number. That I can tell what volume number I'm on there, and I like that.
I like that.
And then for the app list, people complain, at least the views I've watched, that their apps get a lot of update, but I have no problem with that. They're automatically updated. They can take but a second. And then you can always check for an update here. If you go to app update, there is a section here where it'll tell you system apps versus downloaded apps. There's nothing available here, right? That's what I have. You can kind of see in this part here, right? There's a big bay window here. And in case you're wondering, that was one of the concerns I had. The LG C3, I mean, I do have curtains over it, but not blackout curtains by any means. And the LG C3 works perfectly fine. I never see a glare when the TV's showing. Now, if the screen's off, you'll see the glare, of course, but when there's showing stuff, I never have a problem with that at all. And then this is how the apps look. There's all one straight line, which is the same thing that Samsung does, right? So Tizen and LG WebOS are pretty much the same in this regard, that they put the apps right here. Now the difference is with LG, you can get rid of some of their apps. You can't get rid of this LG channels. You can't get rid of Alexa, Art Gallery, but like these that added here, like cart raisers. When I go to edit, if I scroll over to see a little trash can icon, so these are ones I've installed myself: Spotify, Crunchyroll, Twitch. But it disappears on the search button. It disappears on LG channels. It disappears on Alexa, Art Gallery, Media Player, web browser, blah blah blah. But under cart raisers, I can delete it. I didn't install cart raisers. I must have installed it with an update or something, or maybe someone hit that by accident. I don't know. And then, like for example, DAZN, my son installed that recently. I call it DAZN. You can just move it over closer to the front, and then now when you go back home, there it is. You know, I have them in order of the ones I'm most likely to use. It's pretty good. And then if you want to change your settings, this bell's just notifications, of course. And then there's a search bar that you can just search for anything. And I find that to be okay. But generally, I'm going to look on my phone if I want to find something, and then I'm going to search for it in the, if I want to know if a show is showing on a certain app, if a movie is showing somewhere, I'm going to search for it on my phone. It'll tell me what solution to wear. But you can do it here. Let's just try it, I guess. So let's search for Deadpool. You can use the microphone too, right? Deadpool. That's funny.
Deadpool.
That did not work well at all, did it? Deadpool. All right. But then I had already typed on there. So let's try it again. Deadpool. All right. So I found it right there. And all right. So let's just search for Deadpool and see what pulls up. So I found the movies, YouTube videos, and just searching for the web. Movies, shows Amazon, Apple TV. It's not really the best search, I guess, because there we go. That one shows it's on multiple locations. Let me see what happens when I click on it. I can say it gives you two options to open it there, either Prime or Fandango, and it looks like it is free with Prime. So that's good. Let's just say I want to search for Deadpool 2, and then it shows on Disney Plus first, and here's the option with multiple. Oh, that's good. I actually never tried this before. So it looks like it's free on Prime, and YouTube you can pay for it, or Vudu you can pay for it. It doesn't show Disney there, which I find odd, but it does show Disney here. If I click it there, it should take me straight to Disney. All right, and then we have the settings, the general settings for the service. You have this little quick menu here, so if you first hit the settings, it takes you there, and if you hit edit, you can change these cards, right? You can add more stuff, and so you can always, let's say I want to add tint there. So now tint is now one of my quick options, right? If you just wanted to adjust your tint. If you wanted to edit it again, and I want to get rid of tint, I can delete it. So I do like how that is set up. Everything I use is this right here. And then the scroll wheel, I almost never actually use the scroll, but use that to select stuff. So what I will generally use this little menu for is changing the display mode like this. And you hit the arrow over and it will go through the various settings. And then when I had the LG soundbar, you can change the sound settings here. If I don't have an LG soundbar, so that's turned off. Let's just go through the full settings. So picture, so you have standard mode. That's the personalized picture mode. Let's go into their AI. You see where it says user settings next to it? So I do like that. That means I've adjusted those, but everything else is at their default position. So this is the home screen. So this is SDR content, right? And then let me open up YouTube. And just on this screen, right? So we can hit the settings, and we have our picture modes, advanced settings. You see how none of them have user settings next to it. This one may actually have user settings. No, this is the one I actually go to the most, right? This expert bright space day, right? But like the Samsung TV that I'm showing in this video as well, there are different settings for standard mode and HDR mode and Dolby Vision, Samsung's HDR10 Plus. So this is just SDR. So you can see the only picture I've changed is the personalized picture. Everything else I'm using is default settings, and I tend to go to this expert bright space. But let's just say we go to Prime Video. It's a good example. This is a neat touch. When it plays in the top, it will say Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos up top, which is nice. And now when I go to the settings to change the picture, it says Dolby Vision right there. And when you click on it, you can see, obviously, the personalized picture, that's the little thing they go through. But you can see Cinema Home has a little user settings thing. That means I've edited those settings in some capacity. And basically, Cinema is, I guess, the recommended mode, and then Game Optimizer, standard, vivid, blah, blah. So I generally go with Cinema Home, and then I change the setting on there. I don't really know what I changed. Let's just go through and look, shall we? So we're on Cinema Home, aspect ratio, I'm sure I left to the original, and then advanced settings. This is where I set the brightness, 100, 100. Now I don't know what I've changed on here, right? So 100, 150, off, high, and then color. I assume I didn't change anything on here except maybe a white balance. So white balance, I might have made the color temperature warmer or cooler depending on what it was. Previously, I probably didn't mess with any of this other stuff because I don't know what any of this stuff means. And then this filmmaker mode auto start. That's a neat little feature that will change it to filmmaker automatically when movie content is recognized to do that. But I actually generally don't like filmmaker mode, so it's not bad, but I prefer the Cinema Home over it, so I'll probably turn that off. Clarity, this is the motion jitter. That's why I'll probably have adjusted, right? So sharpness, super resolution. Again, I don't really know what any stuff means. You need to watch RTings or something like that to know better. But there's true motion. Sometimes I don't like these, and sometimes I do. So I might have changed those around a bit. And then sound, you really can't change anything because I'm using a Samsung bar. While I was using the LG bar, you had lots of options. So all you can really do is choose if you want to use a TV speaker or the ARC device or wireless or external speakers, but I don't have anything set up, just the Q990C. The advanced settings is shown as Dolby Atmos, but there's not much else you can change, right? Match screen and sound, if you had delay between the lips, audio coming from someone's mouth, but I generally don't have that problem. All right, and this is a good example. So we're still in the Prime Video app, and this is in Dolby Vision, but if you watch The Boys, when I turn this on, it'll show HDR on the top and not. See that up there? And see, it tells me to turn to filmmaker, but I don't want to turn it on. So here, as soon as I turn it on, in the top right, you see where it says HDR. And so now it's in HDR mode instead of Dolby Vision. When I go to settings, in the picture modes, it's an HDR select mode as opposed to Dolby Vision or the normal mode, right? So now you can see I've changed the settings for standard and Cinema Home, and filmmaker mode is now an option. So I guess filmmaker mode is only an option in HDR, not in Dolby Vision, because Dolby Vision I think is equivalent of Home Link. I don't really know, I'm making up stuff here. But you see my standard settings or Cinema Home I've adjusted. Probably same things, I'm sure it's just the white balance. So brightness, I still have 100, 150, and medium on detail, peak brightness high, motion eye care off. Color 65. I don't think I changed any of this. Fine tune, I'm sure I didn't change any of this. But white balance, I might have made it warmer or cooler because that's cold 11. I'm sure cold 11. I'm positive I changed that. And I don't know what these other settings mean. Clarity, I would imagine I turned off. The resolution, either Real Cinema. I don't know the difference between Real Cinema and True Motion. I turned True Motion off and Real Cinema is on. And this is all for the standard setting. So now if I swap it to Cinema Home, see, again, it's nice to know when I want to know what color settings I've messed with. I know I haven't messed with Cinema, that's fresh out the box. And use a Cinema Home I have messed with. Brightness, 100, 150, yeah, I don't really mess with these, it looks like. Color, I assume it's white balance again, warm 5, yeah. And then I would imagine I turned off this Real Cinema on, True Motion off, right? And I've been pretty happy with the color settings on this, right? There's not a lot of tweaks you gotta make. That's the benefit of Sony, I think, more so than others, and LG. But Samsung, I had to make a lot of tweaks for it to be somewhere that I liked. Essentially, with picture mode, just make sure you're changing your settings for, they'll tell you if you're in HDR, Dolby Vision, or if it's just regular SDR content, it won't tell you anything. Sound, of course, we already covered. General, you have accessibility modes. I don't mess with any of those. And then always ready. This is where you turn it off and it's always ready to go. And I don't really know what it does other than the light will be red. When you have this off, the little LED on the TV will be red. When this is off, it'll be white when it's always on. But I guess it just comes on quicker, but I don't understand. It comes on quick already, so I don't know. All these AI features, oh, these are someone. I wonder if that's different. I thought I had all those turned off, but this is on HDR Cinema Home. So let me go back to the home screen. And now our settings are on picture mode expert bright. So let's go to general and AI service. and they're all off. So I guess those AI services change based on what you use. That's interesting. I didn't know that until just now. But for the most part, I don't use those features. I don't mess with OLED care. That's just to make your screen look good, I guess. I don't know what that means. Comfort mode displays a picture with normal contrast, brightness, and sharpness. Theater mode is a suitable picture for movies. Kids care. I really don't know what this does. And then the device self-care would be memory optimizer. Deletes unused app. Oh, it kind of cleans up the memory. That's a nice little feature. Screen self-diagnosis, a little test for it, and then sound Epsilon access, also testing, right? OLED panel care. This says pixel cleaning, moves the screen a little bit every so often. Oh, I think I was supposed to turn this off. Yeah, I think that dims the picture, but either way, I'm turning it off. And then it gives you recommendations every so often. Family settings says if you don't want kids buying stuff, everyone in my house is grown, so I don't have to worry too much about this feature. It's nice to have those volume limits and all that kind of stuff. Channels, again, I don't use that LG channel, so it doesn't matter. I don't have an antenna hooked up. I use YouTube TV, so I don't have any use for that. Network, so I am Wi-Fi connected, and it works fine. There's no way to actually test your Wi-Fi speeds. So Ookla is the speed test app that I use on most apps, and it doesn't appear to have an app for it. Let me do another search for just straight up a speed test. So there's whatever this little internet speed test too. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I want to try that. What I will do is let's go to this browser. It's just LG's built-in browser. All right, so the browser works. You just gotta use it like a mouse and then search. So let me go to fast.com and do a little speed test. So my Wi-Fi router is right there to the side of this device. So I'm just using Wi-Fi. Now my Wi-Fi should be faster than that, but you really don't need killer speeds, and there's an Ethernet port you can plug into. But for now, I would expect it to be a lot faster than that, but I guess it is what it is. So, not the best speed test, but it survives. I haven't had any issues with stuttering and all that. These apps shouldn't need that kind of speed really to go much faster than that, or really any faster than that, unless you're using Plex or something like that. But as far as just straight up apps online, you don't need that kind of speed. Outside of that, I mean, Spotify app works fine. There's no huge, settings option, right? When you click on settings, you can't really do anything, which is standard for most Spotify apps. With the apps that I use on here, there's no problem with. The only app that I don't have on here that I would like is CBT Nuggets. That's only available on the Apple TV. It's not on, or at least it's not on Fire TV or Samsung. I don't know if it's on Google. Let me look for Pluralsight. That's another app. But these are educational apps I wouldn't really expect to be on most things. Yeah, so Pluralsight is on Fire TV, but it's a terrible app on Fire TV. So I don't know that's missing anything. The apps that are on here, I think they function very well. And like the YouTube app, I watch a lot of YouTube stuff on here, and I think it's pretty good. I mean, really good actually. Like it's fluid, it moves fast. You can see I'm moving quickly through things, no problems. The settings, like when you play a video, if you go to the settings, you have an option to change it. See, it has the 1080p 60. It'll do 4K as well, of course, right? If you're watching a 4K video. Jesus, great. You can see it has 2160p, 60 frames per second, right? So there's a lot, the full settings here, right? It's just been working good for me. Oh, and also, this is a feature that is silly, I guess, but if you watch a lot of YouTube on TV, it is useful to me. It was not available on the Fire TV, but we hit this little voice option. 5x12, that's not what I want. But yeah, see, it found my channel, right? And so to be able to use a little voice option is pretty good. That's about the only time I use voice services, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. This remote, I've gotten pretty used to it and I like it. Let me tell you the most important tip under tips I'm gonna give you. So when I was messing around with this, LG has a cool little fireworks feature, basically a screensaver. It turns this little fireworks thing, which I liked a lot. And then I was messing around with this tips feature and I saw this today's information thing and it said try it now. And you had the option for these clocks. And I was like, oh, well, that's pretty neat. I like that. I'll give it a shot. And then I set my location for the weather. You can also get to it here if you go to the settings, general, should be system, and then location. And right here, if you hit the weather settings, the weather location settings, it takes away your fireworks and gives you this little clock thing, which is super annoying. I mean, I like the little clock, it's okay, but you can't go back to the fireworks, which I find annoying because I would like to go back to the fireworks. And the only way to get back to the fireworks, you have to do a full-on reset, which is super annoying. But that's what I'm gonna do now. So part of the reason we filming this video was just so I can see what my settings were. This is the little clock thing I was talking about, right? So you can see me a little bit in the system. This is a little reflection you get with the black screen. And now when I turn the screen back on, you see no reflection. Here's a nighttime look at the screen. Now again, it's my phone. So stuff can come off super great, but the LG little firework burst, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. It's super annoying that that's how that works. External devices, that's if you want to connect a controller or some other stuff, but I don't really do any of that stuff yet. system. That's your language, location, time. And so again, do not set your location for the weather, because that takes away your fireworks. Quick start, home standby light, just standard options here, right? Advertisements, of course, you can't turn them on, but you can limit ad tracking, which is nice. And then energy saving, I turn all those settings off, of course. And then the support is how you do a software update, and the rest of that's just kind of educational, in case you need to look up information about the TV itself. All right, so that's about it. My decision, I went through a lot of choices. I tried the Samsung S90C and the LG 77-inch, and I also tried the LG SC9S soundbar, the Roku soundbar, and the Sonos system and the Samsung system. And for me, the best combination was the LG TV and the Samsung sound system. I've actually come to really like this remote. So is my wife. She hated the Samsung remote. I will say it is nice to know, peace of mind, that I've tested all these sound systems. I know which one's my favorite, which is a shame. I wanted LG to be my favorite, but I bought the lower end LG, so maybe the higher end one's nicer. I don't know, but this is the highest end Samsung system, and I bought the mid-range LG system. So it's not a fair comparison, but for me, I prefer the sound quality of the sound system over the LG and the Roku and the Sonos. My brother-in-law has Sonos and he loves it. But point being, it is nice to be able to have the peace of mind that I tried all those systems. I know Samsung sound is my favorite, and to try both the LG TV and the Samsung TV to know that the LG was my favorite. Like the picture I found better, the WebOS I found better. All right, that's it.